How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one. So I'm going to be explaining a few things to you today because I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how music is made and that it's some kind of like wizard sat behind this desk with a million buttons and lots of money involved and years of experience that you could only dream of having. Now more than ever, it seems like that is no longer how things work. And I'm going to try and explain why to you today, because obviously you guys know that I'm not Ed Sheeran, right? I'm not Ed Sheeran, and I'm not at the point where I can just, decide to take a trip down to the local £1 million studio with, like 5 different staff members and whatever. So because of that, I'm going to show you how I turned my bedroom into a part-time music studio, as well as still being my bedroom. I'm just gonna make a cup of tea because I'm British, and then we're gonna go upstairs. I'm ready to start the day now, I think. Okay, so, right, if you've never seen my room before, this is my room. Here's where I sleep, obviously. Okay, so basically my aim for today is to run you through literally everything that I have in my room, explain what it does if you can't really tell from looking at it, and I'm gonna give a rough cost, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm just going to say straight off the bat that you really don't have to spend as much as I have. You could literally spend like a few £100s if you want. I have definitely spent over a few £100s. But again, you don't have to spend that much. You can literally buy just a couple of the things or a couple of downscaled versions of what I have. Or if you want to, there's a lot more you can buy. I definitely don't have the most expensive setup ever, because if I was to have the most expensive setup ever, I'd have an actual music studio, not one in my bedroom. So bearing that in mind, let's start with the first thing. Probably the most important thing, actually, arguably. Yeah, so out of everything, I'd say that your computer is the most important thing out of everything. And the reason why I say that is because it is literally the base that you build everything else on top of. It's essentially like the first building block, or like the ground that you dig out before you build your house, kind of thing. Your computer will run your software, you plug your instruments into it, or you plug your microphones into it, is what you spend all of your time on. To have a computer that can cope with running virtual instruments and lots of sounds and lots of different things happening at the same time is quite important if you want to make very complex songs. You're thinking, right, so what kind of computer do I really need to get? I would say just like a base model kind of laptop, or maybe just like a desktop, like an office desktop or something. Now I know you're probably looking at me with this RGB machine behind me thinking that I've probably spent a bit more money than normal on my computer, and the only reason I really have is because I wanted to. The time was sort of right for me to be able to upgrade. I basically said to myself I didn't want to have to upgrade again, so I kind of went all out, and I also wanted to be able to do PC gaming and be able to get rid of like my consoles and stuff. So that's kind of the reason why I have an RGB machine like I do. Okay, so I'm going to move on to what I think is the second most important thing, and I have already kind of mentioned it already, and it is the software. There's quite a few. There's quite a few out there. Some are free, some are paid for. That's quite a nice thing. You don't have to spend money in that area if you don't want to, but this one time is the time I'm gonna say that I recommend to spend money. So the software I use, you've probably heard me talk about it in other videos if you watched my other videos. I use FL Studio, and there are 2 reasons for that. The first one is that I started learning how to make music at college, and at college the only computers we had were Macs and MacBooks. So when I was at home and I didn't have those, I wanted to still be able to make music at home. So it's either I bought a MacBook or I learnt a new software that I could run on a Windows computer. I ended up going for the second one because of lockdown, and I wasn't working. I got the free version of FL Studio and I started learning it, and then I eventually bought the paid version. The version that I bought cost me I think it's about 150 quid or 170 quid or something like that. I don't know what that is in dollars. Sorry, American people. And it basically comes with everything you need to get started, plus a couple of like little extra things that they throw in there, a couple of like virtual instruments and things like that. Honestly, if you have a MacBook, I highly recommend going and buying Logic, which is basically a paid version of GarageBand, and it has a lot more features. But if you don't want to go and spend money, then Mac users, you have a very solid free choice with GarageBand. GarageBand is like a godsend. The second reason why I opted to go for FL instead of buying a MacBook and everything is because once I had actually downloaded FL Studio and got used to it, I actually kind of preferred it, which seems crazy because I learnt first on Logic and I was really scared to jump over onto a new software, onto a new program. But I'm glad that I did it in the end because I get on with it so much better. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to probably one of my favourite things about making a studio or a bedroom studio, and that is the monitors. You're probably thinking, wait, you've only got one monitor, which is right there. But these are also called monitors, and I'm going to explain to you why quickly. These speakers in music, they're actually referred to as monitors. It's kind of because they serve a different purpose to a normal speaker. So when you like go and buy like nice speakers or like a speaker system for your car or like a hi-fi system or whatever, there's normally a lot of like settings you can change on them to make them sound how you want them to sound. They have like different modes on them essentially. You can kind of mess around with them and choose the one that you like most that makes the song sound the nicest to however you like them to sound, really. The difference is with music speakers or monitors, they don't really do that. They try and play you the like most accurate sound to what the sound actually is, if that makes any sense. I feel like that's going to confuse a lot of people. The ones that I have are made by Yamaha and I absolutely love them. The way they look, the way they sound, it's probably because I've got used to using them now. I just absolutely love them. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but they're probably, again, one of the most important things about how I've turned my bedroom into a studio. That's like kind of the main thing that separates my room from just a room with like speakers and stuff into being like an actual music studio that I can record in. I have a better idea of what I'm doing to my songs when I'm making them. That is really important when trying to make a professional sounding song. So I absolutely love these things. They're amazing, and I don't know what I would be doing without them. I'd probably be mixing and making songs in headphones, which after having these I really don't think I could be doing. Okay, so on to the next bit of my studio, which is this ginormous screen behind me. This is my newest addition to my studio. My God, was it worth it? My God. It's literally a game changer. So this is my HP monitor. It's good enough for gaming, and my God, is it good enough for music stuff as well. It's a 34-inch ultra-wide screen, and it is literally one of the best things I've bought for this room. It's unreal. The reason why I bought an ultra-wide monitor instead of just a normal one is because the amount of space and the amount of stuff you can get on the screen is incredible. I kind of like to imagine it as like a normal monitor, but then with two little like iPads stuck on the side that are kind of just like extra space. Everything on the screen kind of stays the same size as a normal monitor, but then there's more space, if that makes sense. So you can kind of fit a lot more on, which for FL Studio, if you're an FL Studio user, like if you make music on this, you can kind of see why I would want that, because there's a lot of little windows that pop up, there's a lot of different things going on, and to have the space to have everything up at the same time is just chef's kiss. And on top of that, it's like 165 hertz, so it's really smooth like when I'm making music. And when I play a game, you know, like my screen can keep up with my computer. I can't lie, it's one of the best things I've bought for this room.
I love you.
I know.
Okay, so I've shown you the main things, so now I'm just going to kind of gloss over like the other little bits. Starting with my MIDI keyboard, basically I can put any kind of like sound onto this and play it into here. It's really helpful for when you have like an idea and you can't like quite program it in, or you just want to be able to like play something, get like a slightly different timing to what you could just kind of put in here kind of thing. I've got my audio interface down here, which basically I just plug my monitors into and plug microphones into when I want to record. And then obviously I'm going to need one of these because I'm a singer. This is my mic. It's a Rode NT1A it's called. And I actually found out it's a copy of, or it's a remake of an old expensive microphone from the 80s I think, and they sound exactly the same apparently, which is sick. And finally, I'd say one of the things that really turns it into a studio rather than just like a bedroom with some music stuff in it is these acoustic panels. These are like the foam ones. There's two different types you can buy. I've bought the foam ones because they're a lot cheaper and they work just as well if you buy the right ones. Don't buy the cheap ones because they're not brilliant. Buy some decent ones, but they're still cheaper than buying the actual panels if you buy decent ones of these. I've also got like the little bass traps in the corners of my room. And basically the reason why I'd say they really turn my room into a studio is because they catch all the horrible sounds and echoes and reverbs that you get in a normal room. It just sounds a lot nicer, and the bass traps help catch all the bass in my room as well. Helps me mix, helps my recording sound more professional. That's why it looks like I've got sponge all over my wall. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. So I've kind of talked you through what I've got in my room that makes it more of a studio, and I've kind of talked about how these things do that you don't need to have, you know, millions of pounds worth of gear and stuff to have a music studio. I feel like people's imaginations are stuck in time a little bit because, you know, it's not just like up and coming musicians that make music just from their bedroom like this. I like the Billie Eilish story. Basically she created her whole first album in a sort of like box room in her brother's room in their family home. She recorded the entire album in there. They mixed the entire album in there. I think it's quite an amazing story, and it's really telling on how the music industry's kind of changed. You don't need to go to these crazy like purpose-built music studios anymore. You could literally turn your bedroom into a capable studio. Can't you see him doing something here? Can you go over there just for a second?
Nope.
If there's anything else that you want to know, or anything else that I haven't quite like touched on enough for you, let me know in the comments below. I'll answer any questions. I'm hoping that it makes sense. Hopefully I've kind of explained it well enough. I'm gonna leave it there for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been kind of cool to show you how everything has kind of come together in here so that I can do what I do. Leave a like if you did. If you want to see more videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button because then you'll get notified every time I upload. See you guys soon. Goodbye for now.